Hi, this is Brian Fogarty, and this is a video for Chapter 8 of the book Quantitative Social Science Data with R, second edition. So in this video, what we're going to do is look at smooth density plots. As I mentioned at the end of the previous video on histograms, this really is an alternative, or can be used as an alternative for histograms. I like these a lot. Not everyone does. There's some issues with it. Partially, there's some issues with interpreting the exact values. What I like to do is use them just to get an idea of how our second variable, the values in that, are what the distributions look like. So comparing distributions of the values in our second variable. So what I'm going to do to make our lives a little easier is I'm going to steal the code from the previous one for the histograms because it's really, really similar, right? So it's good, if we can cut out code, it's always good. All right, so this is all the same, except instead of geom histogram, what we're going to do is use geom density. Okay, and then we do not need a bin width because these are going to be continuous curves, so we don't need a bin width. But what we're going to do is we're going to include this option alpha. So alpha is a lightning darkening mechanism, more like lightning. So we're going to use this actually throughout a lot of the data visualization. Here what we're going to do is that it's going to allow us to see how the distributions are so that it will make it clear, because if we don't include it, then one will cover the other one. All right, so an alpha equals 1 means it's just a default, and so anything lower than that is lighter. Okay, so everything else is going to be the same, except here we're just going to be a little clearer. We're going to change it from frequency to density. Okay, so again what we're doing is we're plotting percent depressed on the x-axis, and we're going to compare rural and urban data zones. Okay. See that? I'm going to click on zoom. Okay. So the bluish here, right, is urban. The reddish pink is rural, and so this I think makes it much clearer how the distributions look for the two community types. So we see for rural, they're really clustered here at around 15, between 15 and 20. We see that urban is more spread out, and it's also shifted. Some of the mass is shifted to the right. So I find this way more useful than the histogram that we used last time. I mean, you could see it here, but I feel like it's not as clear as it is in the smooth density. Okay, so that's it. One last thing I'll actually say here about the smooth density is that we should really only use it if we have an x-axis variable that is somewhat continuous. We don't, if we use like the technical definition of a continuous variable, we don't have a lot of them in social science. But one that's fairly continuous and doesn't have a ton of gaps. That's another issue. All right, so that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.